Yes, indeed. Welcome into another episode of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. That over there is at Fuzzy Chris 91 of the Slapshot Podcast. Christopher Merez. I am at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard, and we are here with you as we're in I think in the best part of the NHL season here. Trade deadline's a week away. Playoff teams are going to start separating themselves. We're going to have a little. We do know some of the pretenders already, but we'll start to see who some of the real contenders are for playoff spots. It all starts now. This is the best part of the season right here.
There is nothing better than this time of year. I know that it slowly means that there's less hockey, right? Because we're closer to the end than we are to the beginning. But this is where it starts to matter, where you start to look at standings. Once you get close to the trade deadline, then you know it's legit. Now it's about that final push, I would say. There's no like, oh, we're waiting for him to get going. No. We're here. Like, turbocharge it. Let's move.
Yeah, there's nobody in the NHL that's like Paul George, that's, the 76ers. That's like, all right, it's time to get to work. And it's like, great, you waited till you were 17 games under 500 with about a month and change to go. Good for you, Paul George. Anyway, here to talk hockey. Before we get into all the news and headlines and stuff like that, the last time we were on the air here, Total Hockey Now, was a preview of the Four Nations Face-Off gold medal game. I did pick Team Canada to win. So in that regard, I can't say I was happy, but you never mind being wrong. But obviously, as a American, did not want to lose the game in that fashion. It's obviously another heartbreaker. That's what the Canadians do when it's on the big stage, when gold's on the line. And kudos to Team Canada for getting it done, despite what the Kachuk brothers are saying about officiating and all this nonsense. It's like, boys, we lost fair and square. Hey, can we stop?
Yeah, I'm a lot more bearable, I guess, a week later than I was. If you guys had the unfortunate, I don't even know what to call it. Like, if you followed me and then you had to go through my just debauchery of, because let's face it, I took notes, right? Like, we took notes to make sure that if I had to circle back, I was going to let you know, right? Whether you were, red pill, blue pill, purple pill, I don't care which pill you were taking. If you question Canada's ability, you were going to get just a Tom Wilson shot. Like, I was coming for you. And we got that out. So if you are still following, honestly, round of applause to you guys. Kudos for actually powering through my garbage. If you're not, it's fine. It's okay. But
so I was alerted to you melting down on X because if you remember, I had the 7:30 game in my local hockey league last week. So I had the game on the phone behind the bench so I could periodically just take a peek for a few seconds here and there. We win the game, get changed, go home, and then I get a text from our buddy at Ant Rivera 86, Anthony Rivera. It just says Chris is melting down on Twitter. I'm like, I gotta see this, and it was did not disappoint.
That's right. I was up late. I was, I couldn't wait till the morning. I was so amped up. I think I fell asleep. It was like 2 a.m. I was just it. It's always a great day when you leave Connor McDavid in the slot all by himself and you just let him bury it top cheese. So it's just a good day.
I don't want to go too far down that path because it is a week old, but I will say this. I saw somebody, trying to analyze it like, oh, this is why Austin Matthews moved off in the play because X happened. And yeah, maybe Adam Fox didn't play it the best, but sometimes you have to go against what the textbook says. And maybe the textbook says to, go and pick up the guy, Marner, that's coming out. But when you have a guy like McDavid in the slot, even me, a shitty beer league defenseman, if I'm leaving the slot, I take an extra second to turn around to see if anybody's coming to cover the guy there. And if he's not, I don't. I come back. So, maybe Austin Matthews not a defenseman. I don't know. But, again, he's going to hear about that for a long time and he'll have to live it down. But, yeah, again, maybe don't leave the best player on the planet unattended in the slot in a sudden death period. Just.
That sounds like that should be in the textbook, right? Find the best guy on the ice and make sure he's not alone. That's it. That's what it is. Mitch Marner had a great game as well, so kudos to him. I've gone back to now hating Brad Marchand and Mitch Marner, and it feels right. It feels right again to just see these guys just be like, you know what, just stub a toe. I feel better about it. But
yeah, I mean, you do what you got to do for the 2-week tournament, and then things go back to normal after that, and that's how it works. Now, Four Nations face-offs behind us, but one thing that is very forefront is the Alexander Ovechkin NHL career goal chase, career all-time leader, I should say. He currently sits at 883, where the ovometer is right now. He got his 30th of the season and Monday's loss to Calgary. After 42 games played, he's at a scoring pace of 0.71 goals per game, which puts him on pace to break the record in 17 games, which would be April 2nd at Carolina. I mean, obviously, that's if it stays to the exact average, it'll probably fluctuate. We all know I've got those tickets to Sharks Capitals Saturday, March 15th. You know, he's one hat trick away from expediting that pace. I don't think I see the one that breaks the record or ties the record, but I think I can see something like 890, 891. I could get somewhere in those 890s, I feel like.
It's remarkable to see what he continues to accomplish. Let's not forget he broke his leg this year, came back in record time. It must be the Subway and hot Cheetos diet, because this man is out here just powering through things. And he's 39 and he is scoring at a ridiculous rate. Like, even if, because some people are going around being, oh, there's some empty net goal. Yeah, they don't ask you how. They ask you how many. And he has 883 of them. So he has just been pushing. I would like him to wait till next year. I'd like him to go on a little bit of a scoring slump and then have him complete it in Montreal so I could watch it. That would be best case scenario. If Ovi could kind of make that happen, that'd be great. But if he doesn't, that's okay too. He can break the record somewhere else.
Next chance for the Capitals to tonight. He can add to that against St. Louis. So we'll see if that total even goes up a little bit more tonight with Joel Hofer in the net. You know, maybe anytime goal scorer for Ovechkin. Why not?
Yeah,
we can take a look at that.
That looks like that feels like where Ovi could add another one to his total. No confidence in Joel Hofer.
The ovometer might go to 884 before you go to sleep tonight. We'll see, or maybe even 885. But we'll see how that goes. We'll talk about Blues Capitals later. We're going to run through the whole slate with our picks for all 12 games tonight. Over in the infirmary, we talked about Adam Fox for a little bit there earlier. He heads to the IR with an upper body injury. Rangers still have plenty of season left, but they are just so all over the place right now with their play. They followed an 8-2 loss to Buffalo with, victories over the Penguins and Islanders by a combined score of 10-4. Does kind of feel like a lost season for this team. I mean, best case scenario, what? They take a wild card spot and they get to deal with the Capitals in the first round, or, whoever wins the Atlantic if they ended up, leaping to the crossover spot. I mean, I don't see this team going far. Like, best case scenario, what? Igor Shesterkin steals maybe the first round series, and then that's it. Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle the trade deadline.
I don't know if they're buyers or sellers yet. I just don't know what they want. Like they're probably better than what their record indicates, but they also haven't been better. So there's that feeling, I'm assuming from Drury's part, where this team can compete. That they are better than what they've shown. They just haven't done it. So you live with the reality of what it is, and maybe you just run it back. Like you traded for JT Miller. JT Miller has been a nice addition to the team. He's been good, but wins are the only things that matter, and the Rangers are just not winning enough games.
If I'm the Rangers, the way I handle the trade deadline is trying to look ahead for next year. Like, kind of almost treat it as like, try and get the roster ready to, reset again next year and maybe take another stab at it. But I mean, there's just, who knows now? I mean, is Zibanejad now a right wing full time? Is like his days as a center behind him? Like, there's a lot that they have to figure out. So yeah, I'm not too sure they would be big buyers at the deadline. I hope they're not, because again, like, unless you go out and make some earth shattering trades, like, are you better than the three teams in front of you in the Metro right now? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
The Devils are struggling, but they also don't have Markstrom.
Yeah, but the Devils are fine. They had Jake Allen's played well. Nico Dawes has played well. So it's still a loss, but I do not believe the Rangers are better than any of the teams that are in front of them, at least with their play as of today.
Let's talk about a couple guys who got back in the lineup last night. Valerie Nichushkin returned for the Avalanche last night. No points, but 5 shots on goal. And that's exactly what, obviously you want him to, get on the score sheet, but the fact that he's just picked up where he left off and is firing the puck at net 5 times, that's a good start there. He's skating as a right wing on the line with Jonathan Drouin and Casey Middlestat. Another guy who returned to the lineup last night, Quinn Hughes. He had the assist on the game-winning goal for the Vancouver Canucks, 3-2 in overtime. They blow that 2-goal third period lead and still managed to escape LA with the victory. So, two good players returning back to the lineup there. Now, I want to talk about the Canucks for a second here, because when you look out west, short of a collapse of any of the teams in the Central, Winnipeg, Dallas, Minnesota, Colorado, those four teams are probably pencil them in for the playoffs. The Pacific, it's Vegas, Edmonton, and LA, same category. So that leaves one wild card spot. Is a healthy Quinn Hughes plus the recent roster changes enough for Vancouver to kind of, maybe grab a hold of that last wild card spot? Or are we worried that Calgary might be just good enough to, hang around and maybe give them a problem? I don't think Utah is. They're close to them in the standings. St. Louis, they're already talking about trading Braden Shen at the deadline, so no reason to think they're not going to be sellers here. It's basically Vancouver, Calgary for that last spot.
Yeah, let's look. Let's put this lightly, Canucks Nation. Like, this team is terrible. There's no sugarcoating this. They don't have Thatcher Demko because he is dealing with whatever he is dealing with. This fiasco with his lower body, like, it's not his fault, but I mean, it's just not good. And it's Kevin Lankinen. Okay, so calm down. Quinn Hughes they played 7D yesterday, which I think was interesting. Quinn Hughes he didn't take line rushes, but he still played. And if he can go, then he's going to be in the lineup, and you got to protect him as much as you can. Like, give him maybe not as many minutes, but give him the quality minutes, right? Power play, stuff like that. Make it easy for him. Start of the offensive zone, because again, he's probably still a little bit banged up, but he got the green light to play. Good. Elias Pettersson has to figure it out, because he doesn't have JT Miller around, so we can't blame their non-friendship. And he's got to stop beefing with the media. He keeps saying, at this point, you're getting paid like an elite player in the NHL. Act like it. You have to be better than what you are doing right now. That it's unacceptable. He needs to be the leader. He's got to find a way. I don't know what sports psychologist that team can get him, but he's got to speak to somebody, and he's got to figure it out, because he is not good. He is not playing well. And the skill around the Canucks is not good enough either. They're not elite. But you're right. That is their spot. Like, St. Louis is not taking it from them. Like, the Calgary Flames are just there, right? But I don't look at them and say, "Oh, this is a playoff team." They're just there. Like Utah, I feel like maybe Utah goes out, and if they really believe that they can, they'll add to their lineup before the trade deadline. So Sean Durzi is healthy again. That's important. Mikhail Sergachev is healthy as well. That's important. They could probably use another player on the back end. As always, maybe some, shore up that bottom six. Their top six is okay. But I'm just not a lock here for Vancouver. There's so many things wrong with this team that you can't fix it at the deadline.
But it is theirs for the taking, because, like you said, you don't really have a lot of faith in Calgary. Utah would need to make some upgrades, and there's really nobody else out. What Anaheim, San Jose, Chicago, none of those teams are going to make any noise.
Maybe they're frauds. Maybe they're frauds. Maybe they're the Washington Capitals of 2025. Frauds.
But back to your point about Pettersson, I understand Quinn Hughes is the de facto leader of that team, but somebody has to be a leader amongst the forward group, and you had one of those in JT Miller, and now he's not there. You're right. You got to stop beefing with the media. You got to step up. You got to learn to maybe sometimes not say what you want to say and just say the bland, generic thing to keep things happy. And yeah, it's a shame, because Vancouver could really make some noise if they played at the level they played last year. That Pacific Division would be more of a dogfight than it is. But speaking of the Pacific Division, so if you're Vegas or Edmonton, you look at what the Kings are. That's a scrappy team. I don't know if I'm doing my best to avoid the Kings in the first round, because yes, they lost the game last night, but they controlled that third period pretty well against Vancouver. They kept coming. They battled back. They got the 2 goals. That's not a team I want to deal with in the first round of the playoffs. If I'm Vegas and Edmonton, I'm hoping that they somehow fall into a wild card crossover, but I just don't see it happening. LA is just too good right now.
If I'm the Edmonton Oilers, I want to avoid the Kings at all costs, because the Edmonton Oilers they're not a very good team. They're just really good in the regular season because they have the 2 best players in the world. That's as simple as that. LA's lineup, I feel, is deeper. I feel their blue line is better. Their goaltending has certainly been a whole lot better. So there is no piece of this Edmonton team that I feel like could get out of the first round, because they're not good. Their goaltending has been miserable. Defensively, it's been a struggle. They basically need a Matthias Ekholm again to solidify that blue line. They just don't have any real depth up front. There's just not enough. The Jeff Skinner experience hasn't worked. He's in and out of the lineup. It's not, they brought in guys over the summer to shore up that top six. I'm not going to take anything away from Vasily Podkolzin, but I mean, it's Vasily Podkolzin here. So I feel like Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid need to be surrounded with a little bit more skill, and that skill is just not there. They could probably use a guy like maybe Dylan Holloway, something like that. Didn't they have a guy named Dylan Holloway at one point? It escapes my memory. I think so, but they just let him walk for free. So, but at least they got draft picks. So maybe that player can be ready in 5 to 7 years when McDavid's in the tail end of his career.
Now, you said they could use another Ekholm. Would it be like a legal form of cap circumvention if they were able to clone Matthias Ekholm and you just had two of them out there? I mean, how does that work? I mean, if you're not paying them.
Cap doesn't exist. Ask the Vegas Golden Knights if the salary cap is true or not. No, it's not. It's just
it's a mirage. It's a myth.
It's a myth. It doesn't exist. It's like in the desert. You might see things and then it's just not there anymore. That's what the cap is for them. It just doesn't exist. They can find a way to circumvent it. They just got to find a willing participant to eat 50% of something. That's all. So
there's always somebody out there that can do that. Before we get on to Fantasy Focus, talk a little Macklin Celebrini, Connor Bedard, and preview the Thursday night lineup. Stadium Series is going to be this Saturday. We got the Blue Jackets and the Blue Jackets and the Red Wings playing tonight in Detroit. They'll have the back half of that home and home at Ohio Stadium at the Shoe in Columbus. This will be the second most attended NHL game in history after the Red Wings Maple Leafs Winter Classic back in 2014. Michigan won up to, again, Ohio State fans. Just want to point that out to you. We came into the season thinking this would be a throwaway game between the two bottom feeder teams, but instead we have a pretty important wild card clash in the Eastern Conference here with about 6 weeks to go. Kudos to the NHL, by the way, for setting up the schedule to have them play tonight and get some bad blood going. And because they're not division rivals, they haven't been in the same division since the last time the NHL realigned. So good job, maybe setting up a little bad blood there. But I'm excited for Saturday. I'm going to throw that game on.
Back-to-back wins for the NHL, doing something right. 4 nations now back-to-back before playing outside to build some type of momentum.
I mean, they looked into this matchup being good. Let's just be real here for a second.
But sometimes you need a little bit of luck, but you still got to be able to capitalize on that luck, and they seem to have done so. This is going to be a good game. These are two teams that are fighting for a playoff spot. So yeah, this will be something I would probably tune into and watch. Detroit has been very good of late as well, so that probably helps. We know how good Columbus is on home ice. Now, I don't know if they're going to be able to take whatever magic they have at Nationwide and bring it outdoors. If possible, they probably should. But it's going to be fun, and that I'm there for. I don't want to see a lot of defense between those two teams. I want to see goals. I want to see Zach Werenski flying around out there. I want to see Dylan Larkin flying around out there. That's what I'm looking forward to. A ton of action. Like a 6-5 finish would be great.
Outdoor games tend to either go wildly over or they're wildly under. So it's, whichever read you have, just go with that for Saturday. Got to see how tonight's game goes first. Make sure there's no injuries or anything like that before we look ahead to Saturday's matchup. But tonight should be fun. Looking forward to watching Blue Jackets Red Wings on Saturday afternoon before I get on the road to go see the Deftones in Sacramento Saturday night. So looking forward to that. Fantasy Focus here before we get to something else I wanted to do today. And this is more like fantasy flowers here. Mark Scheifele became the Winnipeg Jets all-time goal scoring leader on Monday night, then added another one last night against the Senators. 7th overall pick of the 2011 draft, has 33 goals and 33 assists on the season, with about a third of those points on the power play. From a fantasy perspective, this was a guy that was going around the 110 to 120 overall area in drafts, usually somewhere in the 25 to 30 range of centers, 60 to 70 in forwards taken. He's played more like a top 10 to 15 center this year. Top 30 overall player in our league. Silver Fox Craig nabbed him in the 11th round with the 131st overall pick. I took Rupe Hintz a few picks before him, and that one I'm gonna kick myself in the butt for after we get off the air. But yeah, I mean, like, and other players, just to put in perspective, taken in his area: Rupe Hintz, Matvey Mishkov, Vince Dunn, Tomas Hertl, Drake Batherson, Jeff Skinner, Jake DeBrusk. Like, why did we disrespect this guy so much?
That's a fair question. I did not expect Mark Scheifele to be this good. It's probably tied a little bit to the Winnipeg Jets and the success that they're having as a team. Like, they are really, really good. So that I would say inflates Scheifele's numbers. But if you did invest in him, you are getting you are getting a lot more than what you paid for. You're driving a Ferrari on a Toyota Corolla payment. So that has worked out very well for you. The only thing I guess that sets him back a little bit is his shot volume, but he's never been a guy who shoots the puck a ton. But he's still, like, his shooting percentage is through the roof. He's not cooling down. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. It's a good story. I just don't know if he's going to be able to repeat it. If I do own him in fantasy, here's the thing: if you do own him and you're on a team that can make the play, like you're a team that can make the playoffs, you obviously can't move him, right? If you're in a keeper league or something like that, and you're not in a playoff spot, you probably should go out and trade him, but get some top dollars for him. Get something that works for him. Do not let him sit on your team, because I don't know if he's going to be able to repeat that. His shooting percentage, like I said, through the roof here, but it has worked out very, very well for him. It has worked out very, very well for fantasy owners. Good for Silver Fox for getting him. Maybe you can drag that roster into the playoffs as well. But no, it has been very good for Mark Scheifele. Good for him.
59 games played so far this season. He's registered at least 1 point in 42 of those 59 games. It's pretty good.
No, that's great. I did have him there. I most certainly did not.
And, you know, I know things are going well for Winnipeg. It's a team effort and stuff like that. But, I mean, Scheifele, another guy, you know, listen, Canada won 4 Nations, but that was a guy that was omitted. That was like, but why? Like, has he not done enough this year? Prove himself?
Sometimes sometimes you get overlooked, and then you just come out flying.
Sometimes
I'm happy about it.
Sometimes you just set a bar of being just so, like, really good all the time that it just almost doesn't get noticed, because you just go out there and produce every year and, you know, give results that Scheifele's given. So deserves some flowers there. Always happy to do that. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about here, little idea I had this morning, a little Freaky Friday swap. It's Thursday, but we're going to pretend like it's Freaky Friday here. So obviously things not going well for the Sharks or the Blackhawks. No expectations this year. But when you look at the Blackhawks, Connor Bedard looks less than happy right now with the way things are going. You know, got into a little bit of a beef with Paul Bissonnette, you know, about his play, you know, a few weeks ago. They got into a little tiff there. Curious, if you had to do a Freaky Friday with one of these guys, the top two young talents in the league, top overall pick in the last 2 drafts, Macklin Celebrini or Bedard, and you got to swap with them for the next decade, who are you swapping with? I know who I'm swapping with, but who are you swapping with?
I still want Bedard. I still think the talent is there, and you can't teach that. To be fair, now, not to take anything away from Macklin Celebrini, but I feel like the San Jose Sharks are a better team than Chicago, or at least they're having more fun. Now, maybe that's geographical, because living in Chicago and living, you know, in San Jose might be 2 different things, right? I'm assuming the weather is better in San Jose than it is in Chicago. So
yes,
that's probably it. Connor Bedard is not having fun, but that Chicago team is miserable. And Seth Jones, who is looking for a ticket out of there, in his comments saying that, hey, the team is exactly the same as they were on game 1. They've made no improvements. And to be fair, they haven't. They are a terrible team. So winning cures everything. And the problem is Chicago doesn't do a lot of that. They lose a lot. But I just, offensively, like, Connor Bedard has nobody. There's nobody that he doesn't have a Will Smith with him, or he doesn't have
William
I don't know. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, at least there's something going on here. And it's probably coming for Chicago. It's probably in the pipeline a little bit here. But when you got Seth Jones basically saying, "Hey, we've been terrible all year and we're not getting better," you know, like there's a lot of negative energy around that, and it's fair that it affects him a little bit. And I know he's trying because he is who he is, and he's going to go out there and he's going to push, and he's going to let the criticism come and whatnot. That this isn't new to him, right? But I still think that talent for talent and pure skill, like Bedard has it. I just think he needs, like, if these roles were reversed, if I put Connor Bedard on the San Jose Sharks with that group, Macklin Celebrini and the group with Chicago, I feel like this would be a conversation. Bedard would be maybe not excelling, but he'd be having a lot more fun and maybe putting up a lot better numbers. Whereas I think Celebrini would struggle. I don't think this is individual to them. I think this is the surroundings that they're in.
And that's why I'm going to answer Celebrini, because if we're talking from just like who's going to the more talented player, it's Bedard. And that's not a knock on Celebrini. It's, here and here, but Bedard's a more talented player. But when you look at the surrounding, the comparison I'm going to make is Bedard is Connor McDavid, where he's going to rack up the individual accolades and the awards and all that, but it's going to take him close to a decade to sniff any sort of real success, because that's how it's worked out in Edmonton. Whereas Celebrini might be more of an Eichel. Well, yeah, there's some bumps and growing pains early, but Eichel, he had to go to a different team to do it, but he's got his ring. You look at what the San Jose Sharks are doing, and I know there's some people out there that aren't a fan of what Mike Grier is doing, but at least there is a clear plan in place. Have your goalie of the future in Yaroslav Askarov. That's it. He's going to get the chance to prove himself every step of the way. You look at the forward talent around him. What's there right now? Fabian Zetterlund, Will Smith, William Eklund. They've got those guys there. You've got more guys coming up in the pipeline. Quentin Musty, Thomas Bordelot, Philip Bystead. Look at the blue line. Jack Thompson, Sam Dickinson, Shakir Mukhamadullin. I'm pretty sure I said that right. There's a lot to be positive about in San Jose. And the thing is, some of these guys they're building chemistry now. They're just on and off the ice. So I think whereas the Sharks aren't necessarily going to be a playoff team next year, I think they could absolutely be a playoff team the year after that. And then we'll see if they start really adding, the heavyweight pieces to go around to make them a championship contender. I'm not as familiar with the Blackhawks farm system, but, besides Lifshunov and now Frank Nazar is getting a chance, I don't know what else there is. Things don't like Bedard looks miserable to take the ice every night, where San Jose is still losing a lot now. That period in late November, early December where they were winning some games seems like it was forever ago. But at least, like you said, they're having fun losing, whereas Connor Bedard, I think, as much as he wants to play out there, I mean, he probably wouldn't mind, getting a night off at this rate.
Yeah, like San Jose is 1-7-2 in their last 10, and Chicago's 2-6-2. It's pretty similar, but I don't think, like, for San Jose, I don't think it's that bad. Like, yes, they're losing, but I feel like it's just part of the process, and there doesn't seem to be as much frustration. And even if the Sharks, they are 1 point ahead of the Blackhawks, they have 2 wins less than Chicago. I just don't feel like it's as bad. Yes, you're losing, but do you at least internally feel like you're progressing? And I think the answer for San Jose is yes. I think they feel internally that there are strides being made and that this team, are they better today than they were game 1 of the regular season? And for Chicago, at least from Seth Jones' perspective, it's not. And I don't necessarily disagree with him either. Chicago is miserable to watch. I'm not sure what's worse, watching the Islanders or having to watch Chicago. Chicago is just terrible. There's nothing to be excited about with this team.
And listen, if you're like, oh, well, Seth Jones maybe was a little out of line making those comments, he made that after a game where the Utah Hockey Club outshot attempt the Blackhawks 93-39. And you're going to get outshot some nights. Some nights it's going to be rough, but I mean that's over double of the shot attempts. And now let's talk about Seth Jones for a second. He's got 5 years left at $9.5 million. I know he wants out. I know he signed the contract thinking like, oh, Bedard, I'm going to get it's not going that way right now. Who's going to take that contract on? I mean, is Chicago going to be willing to eat salary there? I mean, he's got a no movement clause, but he's certainly going to waive it to go to most teams at this point.
Strap in, buddy. Strap in. Here's how bad it is in Chicago. He he is open to the idea of going back to Columbus, which as we know, usually players are nixing the moving to Columbus kind of part. So if I'm Seth Jones, man, like strap in, buddy. You have a contract that nobody wants. You're not playing up to it. He has not sniffed success very often. He's been on some pretty terrible teams. And like you're going to have a hard time finding a team that's going to eat that money. And because if you do, then you probably got to send them a pick. And you're not in a position to be giving away draft picks, especially when they could be early in the draft. So like strap in, Seth. It is what it is. You can't go to a contending team because they don't have money, right? Those teams are not, even if the cap goes up, it doesn't matter. The cap going up doesn't mean that you can make poor decisions. You know what I mean? That's like saying, oh, I got my bonus check and now I'm going to blow it on something I don't need. Just because you have more disposable of something doesn't mean you should blow it, right? Maybe it just makes, for certain teams, facilitating what they want to do easier. But not many teams are lining up right now to take Seth Jones on. So,
I mean, the one thing the Blackhawks do have is like, get somebody interested in Ryan Donato, who's actually not playing terribly. A Tyler Bertuzzi, like, they have a couple of parts that if maybe teams are interested, is like, they might be able to snag some picks to be able to counterbalance maybe having to give up a pick to get Seth Jones off their books. I don't even think that Seth Jones is necessarily playing badly. He's just not playing up to his $9.5 million contract. I saw somebody say that,
and he never will.
I saw somebody say that about Jacob Trouba in a Ranger, chat group or whatever, saying like the Rangers could actually use a guy like Trouba back. It's just $8 million was not the price tag for it, So,
but nobody's eating that money for 5 years. You just can't do it. And Chicago's not in a position that, like, you're not buying him out because like you need somebody on the back end. That blue line is terrible. There's so many just terrible defensemen on it, and they're gonna suck for a long time. Strap in, boys. That's it. I mean, for Connor Bedard, it's not his fault, right? Because he was drafted there. But Satcho, you went there willingly. You took the check. So that's it. Buy a second penthouse.
I think what they thought, like, okay, like, we talked about how the Sharks at least look like they're not miserable losing, whereas the Blackhawks do. I think Seth Jones thought he was signing up for that. Like, okay, yeah, I know we're not going to win a lot, but I get to play with Bedard. We'll have some fun games. He'll rack his points up. It ain't going that way right now. So, or at least as things stands right now, I'd rather be in Macklin Celebrini shoes than Connor Bedard. That's not to say he's going to be better than him. I just think as the outlook for the chance of being a good player, productive, and having a legitimate chance at a championship, I think that comes a little sooner for maybe the Sharks than the Blackhawks. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see how the rest of the season goes here. And I think the reason everybody tunes in is to get us to the hockey slate for tonight. So without further ado, let's start making some picks here. And we got a Stanley Cup rematch. Let's lead off with that. We got the Edmonton Oilers down in Florida taking on the Panthers. The Oilers have been struggling as of late, have lost 4 in a row. Panthers coming off a 4-1 win over the Predators the other night. It's going to be Stuart Skinner going against Sergei Bobrovsky. If you got the Oilers are plus 120, Panthers minus 142, total at 6.5. If you were going to look at a puck line bet here for either of these teams, you think Florida can cover with the Edmonton struggles, minus a puck and a half is plus 180. For me in this game, I got 2 picks here. I'm going to take, with no Matthew Tkachuk still for the Panthers, and yes, Edmonton is absolutely struggling right now on a 4-game losing streak, but nothing gets the juices going again like seeing a team you lost to in the Stanley Cup Finals last season. I'm also tempted to go under 6 here because Bobrovsky is getting the start, and I think we'll see more of a buckle-down approach tonight as the Oilers try and curtail the 5.5 goals per game they've been giving up during the losing streak. So I actually will take a shot on the Oilers on the money line tonight, and I feel like this is going to be a low-scoring game.
I can't get on board with an under when the Edmonton Oilers are in town, and considering how poorly their goaltending has been. Florida could hit the over by themselves. They don't even need the Oilers to contribute. That's how bad Edmonton has been. And even without Matthew Tkachuk, there are still so many good pieces on this Florida team. They could still score goals. That I'm going the opposite way. I'm going the over.
So you taking the over?
Yes, I don't care who wins this game. I just want to see the net filled. Yes, Bobrovsky could like slow that down, but I still think the Oilers are good for like 2. and the Panthers are probably good for like 5. So there you go.
So Chris has got the over. I got the under. I'm also interested in the Oilers money line tonight and a Stanley Cup Finals rematch from last year. Now, it's not the only Stanley Cup Final rematch on the slate tonight. Got to go back to 2004 for this one, but the Calgary Flames at the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Flames plus 185 at the Lightning, minus 205. Calgary coming off a 3-1 win over the Capitals the other night. Looking at the crease tonight for these two teams here, it's going to be Dustin Wolf versus Andrei Vasilevsky. If you're looking for a puck line bet here in this one, looking at Tampa Bay here, minus a puck and a half is at plus 124 for Tampa Bay. When I look at this game, I think I got an under on this one. You had an under on the last one. Vasilevsky's been on fire lately, 1.79 goals against, 944 save percentage over his last few starts. Calgary's only chance to really win this game is to try and keep scoring down like they did against the Capitals the other night. So I think maybe Tampa Bay can prevail. I might even consider a puck line in like a 3-1 kind of game. But I think this is I'm all over the under at this under 6 minus 110.
I know a lot of people forget this because it feels like it was forever ago. But when these two teams first met, they combined for 11 goals in an 8-3 Tampa Bay win. So I don't think we see that again. No. I do believe that this goaltending matchup will be a lot closer. The Calgary Flames don't really score a ton of goals. They're not a heavy offense. So I would also lean the under here. Could Tampa Bay explode? Yes, but it's unlikely, I would say. This has all the makings like a 3-4-1 game. If anything, you get the push, no harm, no foul. I just can't see it being a really high scoring game, and I'm not swallowing minus 205. Like that's, I'm not swallowing that. I also like puck line. This could also go to overtime. We like a 2-2 game kind of thing. So I would play the under here.
I mean, if you're looking at the Lightning in regulation, even that was a little too juiced. It was already up to like minus 145, minus 150 last time I looked. So like I'm not going there. That's why I think the under is a solid play here. And yeah, I think that's what you get. Vasilevsky and Wolf have both been playing well lately. So 2 Stanley Cup rematches in the books. Next one on the docket. The San Jose Sharks are in Montreal to take on the Montreal Canadiens. Alexander Georgiev's going tonight. Is this as simple as bet the over and the Canadiens puck line because it's Georgiev start?
Listen, I'd probably take the over. Yes. Here's what I will say, because I know the last time the Montreal Canadiens won when San Jose was in town was March 21st, 2015. So it's been 10 years. So that Montreal Canadiens minus 202 is certainly a choice. Now, I get that it's Georgiev. Are the Sharks really that bad? Like, I know they're bad, but the Montreal Canadiens are not exactly, the creme de la creme here. So, like, if you want, you would probably take San Jose money line. If you want to swallow their puck line, that's too. Like, I don't think Montreal's coming out here and winning like 5-0. Like I don't think that's what's happening here. So the Montreal Canadiens have been playing a little bit better. They looked really good against Carolina. Carolina it was not a good performance. Wasn't it? They didn't generate a lot of chances. They didn't look dangerous. It was a lot of, they let the Montreal Canadiens get to the front of the net. But I mean, it's Alexander Georgiev, man. I can't for the life of me think that's going to go well.
Sharks have lost 4 in a row. I believe they just have not. Well, their last victory, it was a 2-1 win over the Penguins, just to give you an idea of how good the Penguins are. But their last victory was over a lowly Penguins team in a 1-goal affair. And then before that, they hadn't won since they beat the Red Wings in Detroit 6-3. That was quite a long time ago. So just things have not been going well for the Sharks. I don't know if they get it right in Montreal tonight. If you're looking at the puck line in this one, Montreal minus a puck and a half plus 126, Sharks plus a puck and a half minus 144. I'm going over, and I think Montreal can get the puck line home tonight.
I'm glad you feel confident. Here's what I will say as well for San Jose. Like, all those kids are coming up here. They're not. It's cold here, man. It's cold. It was snowing today. They probably came in yesterday. It wasn't any better. It was raining. They probably stayed at their hotel, played Fortnite. So, or maybe they got smashed. Who knows? But I don't know, man. That number is just way too generous for the Montreal Canadiens. As somebody who has to watch them, it seems it's too inflated for my liking.
You mentioned the Carolina Hurricanes. They're taking down the Canadians the other night. They are hosting, the Buffalo Sabres tonight. They are minus 205 on the money line. Sabres plus 185. Total is 6.5 there. Starters tonight, it's going to be Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen and Peter Kochetkov. Looking at the puck line here, if you think Carolina can cover, minus a puck and a half is plus 119. Sabres plus a puck and a half, minus 137. I was kind of leaning a little Carolina in this one, but I'm staying away from this one. I don't really, have anything strong here.
Can't get me to trust the Buffalo Sabres, that's for sure. I'm not. Somebody make an argument for me to trust the Buffalo Sabres. I'll wait.
I mean, they did smack the Rangers around the other night, 8-2, and they beat the Ducks 3-2. They got a winning streak going. They've won 5 of their last 6, including a 7-2 win over the Bruins. So, I mean, they've got some momentum.
They're terrible. They're terrible. This is a terrible team. Terrible. There's no fun in them. They beat the Ducks. Congratulations. And I guess, I don't know, they smacked the Rangers out of the break. Maybe they were still hungover in New York. I don't know. But I will not trust the Sabres. And again, I'm not swallowing that. I'm not swallowing that Hurricanes money line, especially after watching how poorly they played in Montreal.
No, so no leans here. He's not trusting the Sabres. So maybe if you got to lean on the Hurricanes, maybe that's the way to go. Nothing from either of us here. Islanders, Bruins. This is a no play for me here. Both teams have not looked good lately. There's no reason to trust anybody here. Like maybe I can't advocate any sort of lean or play in this game.
Bruins may have been bad, but the Islanders are extra bad. I would wait to see if Noah Dobson plays. If he does not, then I think there's a little bit of value there on the Bruins there. If you're getting them at even money, I know it hasn't been great for Boston, but they're still the better team. They have the dynamic player, which is David Pastrnak, and I know they're banged up on the blue line. I would probably lean over here, if anything. If Dobson doesn't play, I mean, these teams they can't keep the puck out of their net, but they can fill the net. So that 6 looks quite friendly there. So either you trust the Bruins, again, not that Noah Dobson moves the needle a ton, but him not being in the lineup has made this team worse. So, and the Bruins are missing an entire pairing basically here with McAvoy and Lindholm out. So there's going to be chances on both ends. The Islanders apparently can score goals, but they are terrible, just like the Bruins are. So a little bit on the over here, more on the over, a little bit less on the Bruins.
It's going to be a Sorokin-Swayman matchup tonight up there in Beantown. The Islanders to cover a puck and a half plus 218. The Bruins getting a puck and a half minus 252. That's just a weird one to look at. If you think the Bruins are that much better than the Islanders right now, go ahead and take them. But this is a total stay away spot for me. We talked about the Blue Jackets and the Red Wings meeting up in the Stadium Series. They are going to be playing tonight. Daniil Tarasov is going to go for the Blue Jackets. Cam Talbot's going to go tonight. So he's probably I would imagine he's going back to back here. Can't imagine they're going to play Alex Lyon over him on Saturday. I kind of think this is an over here. I mean, 3.69 goals against, 876 save percentage in 14 games for Tarasov. Columbus has scored 14 in their last 3 games, including an impressive 6 against the Dallas Stars. 4 of Detroit's last 5 games have hit the over. I think the rematch on Saturday ends up being low scoring, but I think tonight we get some pucks in the net.
Columbus does not win on the road, so do what you wish with that information. I also believe that the over is probably good money here.
Minus 120.
I would probably take the Red Wings in regulation, just because again the Blue Jackets just don't win on the road. They can score goals, but again, their numbers are so drastic when they leave Nationwide. It's like they forget how to play hockey. So I would probably take Detroit in regulation because that's fair, and probably the over here. That seems just as fair. But this, like I said, Columbus on the road, can't trust them.
Detroit even money plus 100 to cover the puck, cover the 60-minute win there. So maybe make a little money that way. Take the Red Wings at home tonight. Maybe Columbus at home on Saturday. I like the over tonight, the under on Saturday. We'll see how that goes. It'll probably go the opposite because that's what I'm recommending there. But Columbus, Detroit should be some good primer there. When those two teams know we're going to play each other again in a big stage, there's going to be some message sending tonight, probably some power plays. Certainly see how that shapes up. But, that's not normally a game I'm turning on for the early window, but I'm probably going to throw that on for a little bit. Let's see here. What else do we have? What else haven't we covered in the early window yet? Yes, Flyers, Penguins. Those two teams just met the other night. Flyers -108, Penguins -102. That game in Pittsburgh tonight. Looking at the crease matchup here between the two squads, we are going to get a goaltending matchup between Samuel Ursin and Alex Nedeljkovic. Let's see here. Ursin, fresh off the Four Nations, roster selection there at the end. Pittsburgh, Philly usually is a stay away spot for me, but Philadelphia has actually been playing pretty well lately. They've won 4 in a row here. 3 in a row, and then you've gotten points in 4 out of their last 5. And those 2 losses they've had have been close since the beginning of the month here. So if we're going to go with my rule of if two teams are meeting in a back-to-back, whatever way the total went the first game, you go the opposite over last time. So I would lean under in tonight's game in Pittsburgh, but that's a lean, not a pick.
This is the 3rd time these teams are meeting in the month of February. Yep. So I'm like, we are putting the mortgage on the over here. There's no question about it. I understand that both these teams are not very good at scoring goals, but they are also not really good at defending. The Pittsburgh Penguins are a mess. They're just so bad. And I'm not necessarily buying the Flyers scoring. I just think that they can score against the Penguins because the Penguins are so bad. So in 2 of their last 3 games, right? Again, the over has hit. 6-1 in the last game. Their earlier meeting in December was 7-3 for the Penguins. So these are just 2 absolutely terrible hockey teams with below average goaltending facing each other. And the Penguins are worse at defending. I believe that there's enough offensive skill in this game to take advantage of the poor goaltending.
I think when you've given up 6, 5, and 8 in the last 3, at some point there's got to be some pride, and you got to buckle down in your own end. And if it's not going to come against a team like the Flyers, I don't know. I mean,
they gave up 6 to the Flyers, 5 to the Rangers,
8 to the Capitals,
8 to Washington, which is fair. Washington has been smacking people around. And then 3
to the
Flyers.
Were keeping them to 3 or less for a while. Going back to
but now they've gone back to being terrible because it's the Penguins. Well, why else? You know what I mean? So I would smash the over here. 5.5 is just way too generous. You're telling me both these teams can't combine for 2 goals in a period?
I think sometimes when you get 2 bad teams, they actually try to win and play defense. That's what I'm betting for between a Keystone State clash.
No, there's no defense here. Have you seen Erik Karlsson play defense? Ain't no way. These guys are going to go out there and just try to shove the puck in more than the other team. That's it.
All right, we got another one in the early window here. Blues Capitals. We talked about this one a little bit before. Blues +143, Capitals -157 on the money line. Total is 6 there. We got a backup battle tonight between Joel Hofer and Charlie Lindgren here. You can make an argument for the over because both teams have been scoring or giving up goals a ton lately. I think Washington bounces back after losing to Calgary on Thursday. I know St. Louis has gotten points in 4 straight, and they've won 2 in a row, but Hofer hasn't won in over a month. I'd consider the over if we're playing a total because both teams are scoring at that clip. But I don't know. Just something's telling me to stay away from that. But I do like the Capitals to win in regulation at -105. I think it's a great bounce back spot. I think with St. Louis as of late, they haven't been playing the best competition, and I think they got a little fat on that. And I think tonight you're playing a real team like the Capitals who's looking to bounce back. I know they got the 3-1 win over the Avalanche, and they played Winnipeg close, but I don't know. I think this is a night for the Capitals to really, after only getting 1 goal against the Calgary Flames, it's time to bounce back.
They pumped 15 over the weekend coming out of the Four Nations break. They did that to the Penguins. They did that to the Oilers, 2 teams that have below average goaltending. There is no way I am believing in Joel Hofer tonight. Not a chance. Homie is terrible. So Alex Ovechkin is going to be on the ice a lot. He's going to sit in his office on the power play and start pumping clappers, and nobody's going to stop him.
Let's see. What is Ovechkin anytime goal scorer tonight? I'm going to look that up right
Even
now.
money.
Probably. Let's see.
It would surprise me. It wouldn't even surprise me if you don't even get there.
See, goal scorer props. Alex Ovechkin anytime plus 105.
Oh, we're close.
So first goal scorer plus 850, but anytime plus 105.
He's money. He's not a first goal scorer, but yeah, there's no value there because you just know what's going to happen. That empty net is screaming his name.
And they put him out there a ton at the end of games. Like they'll throw him out there for a 4-minute shift if they need to. Like it's Carberry knows what he's doing. Carberry's going to win Coach of the Year. I mean, we don't even look at Jack Adams' odds anywhere because Carberry's going to run away with that.
St. Louis's penalty kill also not elite. So the Ovechkin, if you're feeling extra spicy, Ovechkin power play goal, if you can find it somewhere, that's probably the number I would go with. If somebody's going to score on the power play, it's going to be him. I feel like that would be that'd be the decent value.
And with St. Louis, I mean, they're already talking about trading Braden Shen, so you know what direction this team is heading here. We know what St. Louis is doing. They're still hanging around the playoff spot, but we know what's up for them. So there we go. That's pretty much through the Eastern window of matchups there. I got Jets Predators here. Winnipeg off a back-to-back, winning last night, have won 11 in a row. The Predators coming off a 4-1 loss to the Panthers the other night. They are plus 119, total 5.5 there. Looking for a starting goaltending matchup tonight here between the two squads. Let's reef it. Looks like it's going to be Comrie for Winnipeg off the back-to-back, and UC Saros here for the Predators. Call me crazy. The Predators are putrid. They are terrible. They've lost 8 of their last 10. In the 2025 calendar year, they've only held a team to 2 or less goals 5 times. This is the last of 4 meetings before between the two. Predators did nip them at home 4-1. They saw Comrie in that game as well. Nashville doesn't have much left to play for this season. This is going to be one of those chances to maybe actually do something positive, snap an 11-game winning streak over a division, we'll say rival. I'm willing, with a plus 119 here for the Predators, I'm willing to, as our friend Howard Bender would say, throw a little sprinkle on a money line bet there. I understand it's crazy. I understand it's the best team in the league versus one of the worst. But I have it. If you're going to take a shot, this is a night to do it against Winnipeg.
Crazy. I will be taking the Jets. I get it's a back-to-back. They're just a whole bunch. They're just a better team. They ran through. I wouldn't say ran. Well, they did. The Ottawa Senators are not very good.
They're also missing 3 key players, but
they are, which makes them even with the Predators because they're just not very. They're not very good. I don't know the status of Roman Josi. The expectation is that he probably plays, but I just no. Getting the Jets at minus 130 feels like a gift. I can't trust the Predators at that number because that's terrible. That's just not enough for me to want to back them. And I get it's a back-to-back, but the Jets are just so good. And Eric Comrie hasn't been bad. So his name is just not Connor Hellebuck.
All right. So if you don't like that money line underdog off a back-to-back, what about if I did it with the Canucks and Ducks tonight? Ducks plus 113, Canucks minus 123. Canucks had to go to overtime against a very tough Kings team that tends to grind you down. Yes, I know Quinn Hughes is back, and yes, they are a much better team with them in the lineup. But this is Anaheim's first home game since February 4th, and they had won 4 straight at home prior to that 4 Nations break. Looking like a Lucas Dostal. He is going tonight against Artur Shilovs. Ducks have been playing a better brand of hockey, too, over the last month. They have 7-10-1 in their last 10 games. I'm absolutely taking a shot on them on catching a Canucks team that has been streaky at best on a back-to-back after playing a tough team last night. I know there's no travel involved, but I feel like they're going to be a little tender after playing the Kings.
It's just not, man. There's just not. I just don't feel like plus 113 is the best value on the Ducks because they're so terrible. The Canucks can win on the road, though. They're 16-10-4, which doesn't sound fantastic, but is actually pretty good. I would still be on the Canucks side. This probably has the makings of an under. 5.5 is a tough one, just because Shilov is not. He's not great. But like, I don't know if the Ducks can really score. The Ducks haven't been scoring this year. They don't. They do shoot more than the Canucks do, but they just give up a ton of shots. Their power play is not very good. Their penalty kill is not very good. I just don't think the Canucks have enough in the tank to like go out there and smack them. I also want to see. I don't think Quinn Hughes plays a ton in this game. I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't take warm up and they just say, "Hey, man, like." Yes, every point's important for them, but you also need Quinn Hughes to be healthy. Do you want to play him on a back-to-back right off when he was the 7th defenseman yesterday, right? 7th defenseman is extremely loose. I don't know. It's just there's not enough to me. There's not enough value on the Ducks. So by default, then I'm like, well, there's just enough on the kind of.
What about plus 165 in regulation?
I don't. This game could be a snore fest. This could be a 1-1 after 3.
Very possible.
That's just like it's so close. I would take the Canucks in regulation, but I wouldn't feel good about it.
Canucks in regulation would be plus 120, so still getting some plus money there if you think Vancouver's going to sweep the Southern California road trip.
The Ducks have gotten to overtime in 3 of the last 5 games, but I'm trying to get a little bit of value here. The money line, sorry, is still good. I'm just getting greedy here. See if the Canucks can take care of business in regulation.
I'm getting cute with the Predators pick against the Jets. I don't think I'm being as cute here. I think there's at least some ground to stand on. So that's where all the games I have any sort of action or leans on tonight. Still 2 to go on the board before we get out of here. Wild Utah. This has something that I feel like you're going to be ignoring. Any sort of leans here?
I feel like are the Wild that bad? Have they been a dumpster fire?
I mean, they got so tonight you got Marc-Andre Fleury going against Vejmelka. Let's see here with the Minnesota Wild, what they've been doing.
They haven't been as terrible. I haven't heard a lot about them.
So they lost to the Red Wings. They split a home and home with them, and then they beat the Islanders, and then a close one against the Hurricanes. They got shut out by the Bruins and the Senators, 3-0, 6-0. They've been a bit of an up and down team lately, the Minnesota Wilds.
They have, but I feel like they've been, if I'm not mistaken, they've been decent on the road.
Still no Kaprizov.
But they've been a good team on the road, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like they've been elite. That plus 158 is certainly a choice. I think they have
21-7-3 away.
Yeah, okay.
So they're 500 at home. They go on the road, and I don't know. Maybe they like the hotel beds a little more than what they got at home. Maybe they need to get like a deal with like a mattress firm or somebody like that.
Marc-Andre Fleury hasn't been terrible. Obviously, the loss of Kaprizov hurts. There's no Eriksson Ek as well, I believe. So they're down a couple of pieces. Ryan Hartman for trying to smash a guy's head. I know they're missing some, but 158 is there's just enough value there considering how good Minnesota has been on the road. They feel comfortable playing on the road. So I would go with the money line for Minnesota.
Utah tends to play these divisional teams tough. It's down to plus 156 now that I'm looking, minus 172. So moving a little bit in the other direction, but it's a stay away spot for me because Utah tends to play these, divisional teams tough. And if Vegas is giving Minnesota that much, even though there's a clear disparity, I know Minnesota struggled. They've been streaky lately because I don't like anything here. Maybe the under, but nothing for me there. And the nightcap, Blackhawks, Golden Knights. Anything I wanted to look at here was too juiced already. Maybe the under because Chicago doesn't really score and Vegas is a strong defensive team, but this is one I'm throwing on to fall asleep. Not to fall asleep to, but this is how I'm ending my night in the living room.
This is probably how I fall asleep too. I'll probably watch a period and a half of Vegas and then turn it off because it'll be 4-0 Vegas. And why would anybody care? I don't even think the Blackhawks could cover the alternate puck line at plus 2.5. Like I really don't. This feels like a trap game though, because Vegas did go into Chicago and lose. I know this because I thought that was a slam dunk, but Chicago has 6 regulation wins on the road all year. They are miserable. They're not fun to watch. They are not a very good team. This seems like an impossible task. There is no such thing as a sure bet, but we are very, very close to, you can probably like if you're going with Vegas Golden Knights money line because I don't know, you just feel like that's the best way to live your life. Probably, you could probably spend the money that you would be paid out for it. It's probably not much. Maybe you get yourself a combo at McDonald's.
It's Mrazek and Samsonov tonight. Samsonov, excuse me, for Vegas. That makes any difference?
No. The factor here is that Chicago is playing hockey. That's the part. That's the common denominator here between everything. When I try to find a reason for them to do something, I just remember how bad the Chicago Blackhawks are, and I don't want to watch them. So
Vegas minus a puck and a half, minus 139. If you were looking at the puck line, maybe you bump that up to 2.5, and maybe you get some better return that way. But yeah, Connor Bedard in Vegas. I don't think he's going to be any happier after tonight. I don't think he's going to be in the same mood the rest of the city normally is in when they're out at night.
He looks. There was this shot of him in the penalty box. He looks so deflated, and I'm like, "Same, buddy. That's me when I wake up on a Monday morning, staring at my computer screen, thinking about my workday. I'm like, yeah, I feel you, Connor.
You know what it is too. Like for the people like, oh, it's sour grapes. He's got to learn how to lose better. It's like a guy of Connor Bedard's talent has never lost consistently and like this in his entire life. So when you go from being the best player at every level to the point where you're winning left and right and you're dominating because you are who you are, and you go into a situation like Chicago where it takes a lot more than one guy to really win at the NHL level, he's got to learn to lose. He's learning how to lose right now. And that's some people are like, oh, you never want to be a good loser, blah, blah, blah. Losing stinks. Well, it's important to learn how to lose just to make sure you maintain an even keel throughout the season, because there's going to be lots of ebbs and flows. There's going to be 11-game win streaks like the Winnipeg Jets. There's going to be like the Blackhawks or the Sharks who've won 1 or 2 games in their last 10. You got to learn to handle the ups and the downs. Last year, sure, they didn't win a lot, but it's your first season in the NHL. Every year you're the new kid on the block. Everybody's going to, I made a special trip down to San Jose just to watch him play last year. And now it's okay. Now you're not the new kid on the block anymore. You got no help. He's got to learn how to lose. He's learning how to lose. And it's, for me, him taking it the way he's taking it, it's probably, you don't want a guy to be too comfortable with losing, but you don't want a guy to be flipping tables either. And I think for a kid his age, he's handling it the right way. Like, yeah, maybe he doesn't look the best. It's not the best optics. But, I mean, what do you expect from him?
You got to hate to lose, right? You got to hate to lose. This isn't, even when he was with the Regina Pats in the WHL, like they weren't a great team, but he could go out there and still have 4 points a night and keep the game close. So obviously you can't do that at the NHL level. And yeah, you don't want to get comfortable with losing, right? You don't want to enjoy it. I have no problem with, players coming out, even like Seth Jones, just saying like, we stink. Yeah, you do. Do not be complicit. Don't be happy with losing. Don't be just cashing a paycheck. You want, you got to hold each other accountable. You got to want to get better. It probably doesn't start tonight though, but be unhappy. That's it. Take another pounding here. Why don't like a 7-2 final or something? Really set the tone. They're in Vegas too. Connor can't drink, but they're in Vegas too. Anyways, it's probably a show or something. Maybe go to the Sphere.
I mean, maybe they had plans to go to the Sphere, and then nope, sorry, can't do it. You're not playing.
I'm not. I don't think this is a Nashville Predator kind of scenario here. I think everybody expected them to be exactly where they are.
The Nashville Predators need a lot more than one night at the Sphere revoked from them to get back on track this year. It worked for them last year. They need a lot more than that this year. So there we go. We ran through all 12 games on the NHL slate. Hopefully we'll help you win some money there. Chris, what do we got coming up on the Slapshot podcast this week?
We are doing Puck Doku. I didn't do it. I don't know if I didn't. I don't think I did it last week because I just had so much winning to talk about that I didn't have time to like. It wasn't a day to worry about losers. You know what I mean? Like I just left that to the south of the board. I was like, you guys deal with losing. I wasn't going to let Puck Doku bring me back. So we'll do that. Cover some cool stuff, fun announcement as well. So you probably want to listen to it. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying you probably do.
I mean, you took the philosophy of Queen saying no time for losers. We are the champions, literally, on the show last week.
I just didn't have time. I was in my Canada jersey, and we were just reminding everybody about how great Canada is at hockey. and how Austin Matthews cannot defend in his own zone. That's it.
Now, this surprise that I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. Is this NHL trade deadline related?
It may or may not. I will neither confirm nor deny. What is it? I'm basically just going to be like Elias Pettersson and JT Miller. Just, nothing. But it could be.
Could be.
It may not be.
There. So, I'll find out before everybody else finds out.
Yes, you may. But the rest of the world will have to wait until Friday when it's posted. So.
Now, that'll be for tomorrow's slap shot, and we'll see what the surprise holds for the future week. Rip and riff, Jared and I this past week. I ripped one of the worst basketball packs of all time. So if you want to see that, go for that. In 2 weeks, because we got the trade deadline coming up next week, the Monday after that, we're going to rip a whole tin of Upper Deck Series 124-25, and I'll talk about the players that potentially got moved or the teams. We're going to just spend that whole rip and riff. That's 2 weeks away. Next week, we'll do a tiny bit of preview. Total Hockey Now next week going to be all trade deadline preview. That's what it's going to be. We'll preview the Thursday night slate, but it's going to be a trade deadline preview as well. Now, we have seen in years past where a lot of the guys go off the table, and there's not much left to talk about for Friday. We'll see if that's the case or not. But either way, whatever teams and players are left, we're going to be breaking down where they went or where they're going on the next edition of Total Hockey Now. But we're at Mr. Fuzzy Chris 91, Chris Merez. I'm at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. We've been with you with all new episode of Total Hockey Now, getting you ready for the trade deadline. One of the best days of the year on the hockey calendar. Let's be real. One of our favorites. Back with you next Thursday. All new episode of Total Hockey Now on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel.